Good evening. So last night after Mass, I went back up to the rectory, and it was about 5 minutes or so until the cat's feeder went off, which they'll sit in front of that thing sometimes like an hour, hour and a half before it goes off. Food is very important to them. You know, when they used to be like 25 pounds and they ate a lot, it was just, now that they're half that weight, I think they want to like eat as much as they used to. Anyway, so I picked up Frank, and I'm holding him there, and his feeder's about to go off, and he knows it, and he's going crazy, and I'm holding him like this, and he keeps pushing his head like down through here to try to get down to the floor, as if it's going to make the food come any faster, and he's just, going crazy, and I'm like, okay, this is enough, right? And so I go to set him down. Frank doesn't scratch me. He knows better than to scratch me. He knows there will be consequences if he scratches me. And as I was letting him down, he jumped and pushed with his hind paws and just like slashed my finger across here, 2 of them. So I was going to pick up one of the other cats and do the same thing. I decided I better not, because cat scratches are bad. So I quickly washed it out with antibacterial soap and poured peroxide on it and wrapped it up. And then this morning when I was saying Mass with a Band-Aid on my index finger, I realized it's very difficult to say Mass with a Band-Aid on your index finger. So there you go. Just felt like I hadn't given you an update on my cats in a while. Today we celebrate the feast of the Epiphany, when the Magi come to visit and to adore and to pay homage to the baby Jesus. We call this feast the Epiphany because Epiphany is kind of like an aha moment. It's a revelation. When we have an epiphany, we learn something new. And so here we have these 3 wise men, these kings, these magi, whatever it is that we call them. And they come from the Orient. They come from far away. They don't have any concept of Judaism. In fact, they're following a star because their religion that they probably would have practiced was to look at the stars and sort of read what the stars are telling them. And so this star told them, well, come here and you'll see the real God. So their epiphany, their moment of aha is, oh, wow, this thing that we thought we were doing, we thought we were worshiping the stars or whatever it is, turns out that it's this baby that we're supposed to worship. And they learn that, they realize that, and so they come and they pay him homage and they offer him these great gifts. They offer him gold, frankincense, and myrrh. There's a funny comic strip that floats around sometimes, and it shows the 2 with the myrrh and the frankincense, and then the other guy comes in with gold, and they're like, "Hey, what's up? We thought there was only a $5 limit." But the frankincense and myrrh would have been expensive as well. Frankincense, of course, is incense used so that we see the smoke rising to heaven as our prayers rise to heaven. Myrrh was used in preparing body for death, as I say every year, a very macabre gift to give to a baby, but of course the foreshadowing of Christ's suffering and death. And then the gold, of course, for royalty because he's a king. And so these wise men come and they have this aha moment where they learn that they have encountered the light of the world and that this light in the sky has led them here and that now this light is shining forth to all the nations. And so Christ comes not just to be the King of the Jews. He comes not just to be their Messiah, but he comes to reveal himself to the whole world, to all the nations. And these first 3 men are the ones to whom he reveals himself. And so what we learn from the Epiphany is that we too are called to see that light, see the light of Christ, encounter it, be transformed by it, and then help it to better shine in the world. Help it to shine through us as well. And so how do we do that? In encountering Christ and encountering this baby who is destined to die on a cross, and encountering Christ, there must be some sort of profound change that occurs in our lives. If we come to Mass on Sundays and we just kind of come and we're like, all right, I'm here at Mass, I'm checking the thing on the box and everything's good, and then I'm just going to go back to my life throughout the rest of the week. I'm going to focus on worldly things. I'm not really going to focus on prayer. I'm not really going to focus on holiness. I'm just going to sort of, enjoy the week until Sunday comes around again, and then I got to go back to church. Then something's not quite right. But rather, if we have seen Christ, if we have encountered Christ, if we have allowed him into our heart, allowed him into our life in some way, then that should change everything for us. That should make it so that we are not simply just kind of going day to day about our lives, but rather because we have seen that light, we desire for others to see it as well. I imagine that these three wise men, when they departed back to their country, avoiding Herod, they got back and, the other people, the other, wise men, because I assume that they come from a place where everyone's just wise man and dresses like that. They go back and they're hanging out with their other cool guys with the cool outfits, and they're like, hey, where were you guys? Oh, well, we went to Bethlehem, this little, podunk town in Judah, and the star led us to a baby, and turns out the baby's God, so we worshiped him. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Be like, huh, okay. I'm sure that nobody else just kind of went on about their lives. I'm sure that they, probably shared a little bit more than that with their fellow wise men, and that something had to have changed, right? So when we've encountered Christ, something must change. And then we must be agents of that change as well. We're called to go out into the world and to sanctify the world. We're called to go out into the world and to proclaim the gospel, whether by words or by our actions. We're called to go out into the world and to say, hey, everybody, there's this really important light that you need to see. Hey, everybody, you're wondering where I've been? I was just adoring a baby that's God. And then recognizing, of course, that baby matures, grows into adult Jesus, who suffers and dies on the cross and is risen from the dead and ascends into heaven where he's prepared a place for us. And so we ask ourselves, okay, well, so what does that mean for me then? How do I help to share the light of the nations with the other nations? How do I help that light to better shine around me? Well, all through Advent, we talked about examination of conscience. And once we've examined our conscience and once we've made a good confession and then we decide, okay, I've made a confession, I've made a firm purpose of amendment in my life to sin no more, to avoid the near occasion of sin. So what can I change in my own life? What is there in my life that perhaps blocks out that light from shining in other people's lives? What is it that I do, perhaps my actions or my words, that prevent others from seeing that light? What is it that I can do better? What can I change in my own life? What habits can I work to change? What actions? The way that I speak? How can I become more holy in my life? How can I live a life of holiness to a greater degree? Prayer, fasting, almsgiving, those things are helpful because, we pray, we unite ourselves to God. We fast, we deny ourselves the things of this earth so that we can better focus on the things of God. And almsgiving, we give things away because we're not attached to this world. We're not attached to material things. Rather, we're attached to God. We've been united to this light, to this King of the nations. We've been united to him in such a profound way because he took on our humanity so that we could take on his divinity. We've been united with him in such a way that everything ought to change. Now, that's easy to say, right? Like, hey, okay, let's all change. Let's all never sin again. Let's all go out into the world and convert everybody. Let's convert the rest of the world. Easy. Not really. When we think about it kind of in this sort of grand scale campaign to go out and to just convert the world, wow, that's daunting. But then if we think about it, these three men, they were the first ones to see Jesus as a baby, and they went back, and again, they probably shared with their fellow wise men. Then after the resurrection, Jesus sends his 12 apostles out. He's like, all right, you 12, you go out and you convert the whole world. 12 men. And it's still going on. Of course, it multiplied a little bit, right? There's the successors of those 12 men. They wear funny hats. And then, of course, there's the priests. But more than just the bishops and the priests, the role of the faithful, the role of the lay faithful to evangelize. I love it when I hear people come in and they'll say, hey, Father, I was at work and somebody was talking about this or that, and it gave me a chance to kind of interject and say, like, no, it's actually this way. All right, good. Someone's trying to do something. Or they'll say, yeah, I heard somebody, saying stuff about the church that isn't true, and I corrected them because I learned it from you or from Father Michael, and so I was able to say, no, that's not what we do, and have some sort of openness to desiring to know the truth more. And so in our interactions, just in any way, any little way, to be willing to speak to somebody. It's difficult, right? To be willing to have conversation with a stranger. For introverted me, as I've said before, the worst thing that can happen is I'm out in the wild in my civvies, and somebody sees me and I don't see them, and they're like, hi, Father, and I'm like, I don't want to be recognized. But then a stranger, right? Like even worse, to talk to a stranger. I forget what the situation was. I was somewhere, I was like waiting in line for something. I don't know if it was a grocery store or what, and this is only just now coming to my mind, so I haven't like fully recollected it. I don't remember what it involved, but I know it was something where I just started talking to some lady about something that was going on, and it was somehow church related. Great story, Father Tim. But those little situations, they're all over the place. They pop up, and it's an opportunity for us to share our love of God, to share our faith, whether it's because somebody sees the crucifix around your neck, whether it's because somebody sees you with a rosary, whether it's because somebody sees you make the sign of the cross at a restaurant, or maybe you see somebody else make the sign of the cross at the restaurant, so you strike up a conversation. There's so many little ways in our lives that we can help to allow that light to shine more brightly. And so on this Feast of the Epiphany, as we can come, we still have a week left of Christmas. Christmas ends with baptism. It's confusing. There's the 12 days of Christmas, there's the octave of Christmas, and then there's the baptism. And some people celebrate Christmas all the way until presentation on February 2nd. It's just all over the place there. But as we come to the end of the 12 days of Christmas, this Feast of the Epiphany is an opportunity for us to be able to see that light shining brightly before us, an opportunity for us to recognize God's presence to us. It's an opportunity for us to reflect on that, to ask that be renewed, our understanding of that. And it's an opportunity for us then to go out into the world and to present that light so that it may more brightly shine to all those in need.